So Parliament has been prorogued until the 14th of October, where a Queen's speech will be given. And I thought I'd quickly show you what happened in Parliament last night, because this was why I was late for a game stream. As you can see, Parliament was full, and as is tradition, Blackrod approaches. It is a old tradition, but it's a separation of power thing.
Close the door. It's Blackrod. Open the door.
Blackrod!
I can't help but notice the benches are looking oddly thin. Hell, even the Prime Minister didn't turn up for this one. I would play more of what you see here in the House of Lords, but in truth, I don't want to. It is all incredibly boring. And ends with politicians, those that turned up, going back to the House of Commons for the Speaker to read a writ. Once it is read, Parliament is then suspended. But this isn't the end of it. There is something else we should talk about. And that is that MPs are going to be having a special sitting in Parliament on Saturday, in what is being touted as a decisive day for the future of Brexit. Now, this particular sitting will not take place during prorogation. Parliament does not sit during that event. This event takes place on October 19th. This is seen as a last chance for the UK and EU to agree a deal ahead of the 31st of October. If a deal can be agreed upon with the EU, MPs will be asked to approve it. But if it cannot be approved or agreed upon with the EU, a bunch of options can then be presented. These could include leaving without a deal and revoking Article 50. I personally am starting to lean in the direction that MPs will choose to revoke Article 50 because they're too afraid of that boogeyman cliff edge. As we all know, Boris Johnson wants to leave then. We've heard the quotes, "I'd rather be dead in a ditch," being the most notable, and when other points are raised, humbug, because apparently humbug is a pejorative now. When queried about whether the Prime Minister intends to honour the will of the the law of the Ben Act, and ask for an extension, he has always said he will comply with the law. However, there are alleged conversations still taking place at number 10 about writing a second letter, making the case that a delay is unnecessary, because that's the point. He can still ask for the extension and just include another letter that says, "Ignore the first one, we're leaving without a deal." As we all know, talks are still ongoing between the UK and EU's negotiating teams ahead of this summit, EU summit that is, on the 17th and 18th of October. Boris Johnson did submit new proposals that have been somewhat well received in Parliament, but as we discovered yesterday, Angela Merkel has a new precondition that apparently was known of when Dominic Raab was the Brexit negotiator after David Davis, in that, essentially, for the United Kingdom to leave, we have to give them Northern Ireland, which understandably the SNP see as a huge boon, and are like, "Can we have that as well, please?" As if that's how it works. Although I will say for the sake of it, I'm okay with a hard border existing between England and Scotland. Quite frankly, bye, have a great time. President of the European Council Donald Tusk sent out a very public tweet to Boris Johnson accusing him of playing a blame game, something which many MPs, because they're opposition and little bitches, are also doing. I tend to take the stance that I don't believe Boris is blaming, he is more pointing and saying, "We are making concessions here and coming up with some really good ideas. You are not playing ball. You are now the people, the own instruments of the no deal. You are the very reason no deal becomes a reality." Just for the sake of clarity before we finish, this is the current timetable of what will happen between now and the 31st of October. So it'll be very interesting to see what MPs are willing to get done in the time they have. I would argue that while Parliament doesn't sit on the weekends usually, for the sake of what we have happening now, it would be wise to do it. Because seriously, you have a lot to get on with. And you need to find a consensus to revoke Article 50, because that's all you want.